My name is Karen Rodriguez. I'm the COO of Kiss the Ground, and I've been with the organization since 2013. It's so exciting to see all of these faces. We had over 1,000 people sign up to be here, and so it's really amazing because, as we always say, this work doesn't happen without the many hands that it takes to do this, and all of you and your participation really matters, since we are stewards of the earth, and it is our job as keystone species. We're excited. We're wrapping up another year, thankfully. And usually, nonprofits, when they want to showcase what they're doing, they do annual reports or impact reports. We are really committed to keeping everyone informed as we go. And so this is now going to be the beginning of a series that's going to continue 3 times a year. So we'll be able to show you all exactly where we are, where we're going, how it all works together, and how your participation with our work really makes the difference to make the difference for this work to continue and to keep growing in this year alone. And Evan will share, and everybody will share just how the impact of the work just continues. Um, we hope you enjoy the show. And I'm going to introduce, I'm going to say now, it's interesting how we introduce each other and who we are to each other. Evan's not only my partner in this work these days, but also just I wanted to call him my favorite surfer, my favorite water guy, because though we're soil people, Evan's heart and love for the ocean also really inspires me. And so Evan Harrison, our CEO, is going to start us off today. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate everyone.
Thanks for the kind tee up, Karen, and welcome everybody. Because we have about 1,000 folks joining us and most are new to our work, I'm going to say a couple of words about who I am, what I'm doing here, and about our organization and the work we do. I was in the music industry for a couple of decades, and I was fortunate enough to be a leader in the change of the way we experience music in 2000 to have the conversation that we're all going to have music services and we won't be buying CDs anymore. That was a crazy thought. And that kind of parlays into what we're about to talk about today. So I got really excited about putting my energy towards human and planetary health when I was serving on the board of the Surfrider Foundation. And when I saw the film Kiss the Ground in 2020, I was kind of mind blown, like many have been. I had no idea regenerative agriculture in soil health was a thing that could really help improve planetary and personal health. So here we are today, 75% of people in the United States who go shopping for food try to buy food that will make them healthier. Yet only 50% read food labels. And of those who read food labels, fewer than half understand what they mean. As a matter of fact, the top terms, marketing terms that people react to on food labels are fresh and other unregulated terms. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a big gap to fill there. And importantly, only 8% of the US adult population in a year talks to a farmer about the sourcing of their food. So we believe through telling inspirational stories, stories of all sizes. Today, you're going to see an 11-minute story, but we release content every day to meet people where they're at in an effort to grow this movement to the tipping point, to increase consumer demand, to purposefully seek after products that embrace regenerative farming practices. You'll hear a bit more about that in the film. So, how are we doing? Karen said we were going to give you a progress report 3 times a year. The impact overall of the industry, the regenerative movement, awareness has grown from just 4% just over 18 months ago to now 7%. So you talk about a movement gaining meaningful steam. This is that movement, regenerative agriculture and healthy soil. Uh, we now release 40 unique pieces of content per month at Kiss the Ground. Only a couple of years ago, it was more like 4 pieces of content per month. So we're really amping up our storytelling. Not surprisingly, we now reach 2 million people per month with that content. We only have 11 full-time employees. We used to have 30. So we're making a greater impact with fewer folks. About 30 people all in work on everything we do at Kiss the Ground. And interestingly, this year, while releasing more content than ever, for the first time ever, we wrote $500,000 in checks directly to farmers. And we will play you a little film shortly that shows you how that is leading to 73,000 acres of land being transitioned. So we're a 501(c)(3, we're a nonprofit. We rely on people like you tuning in and then sharing the work we do to bring more people into the movement. So with that, Jackie Peller is our Director of Supporter Relations, and she'll tell you a little bit about the work that she does.
Thanks, Ev. Hi, everybody. So awesome to be here with all of you. I love seeing where everybody's from in the chat and all the hellos. Thanks for the intro, Ev. As Evan shared, my name is Jackie Peller, and I head our supporter relations at Kiss the Ground. We are a 501(c)(3 nonprofit, and so we are audience supported. And so what that means is all of the content that you see, our resources, our stories, our farmer grant initiatives, that is made possible by supporters. So we're closing out 2025 with about 2,000 supporters. For every $10 that somebody donates, we transition an acre of land. And our supporter base includes a variety of folks. We have individuals who have reoccurring donations or one-time donors. We have foundations and grants that support our work. And we also have a variety of companies of various sizes that come in as brand partners that really, really support our work. So without all of that, we would not be able to do the great work that we do. And we also work really hard to be pretty transparent and communicative with our supporters. That's something that we've really been building upon year over year. We want to be really clear about our impact and share where the money that you donate is going to, usually straight to farmers, as you will see with our film today. Yeah, so just really excited to be here. Thank you for believing in the work that we do and taking time out of your busy day to be here. And I'm really excited about this film and this conversation. And yeah, everything that you guys do really makes a difference to our work. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Jackie. If you would put up the slide, please. Here we go. We wanted to start by acknowledging our partners. Jackie mentioned it's individuals like you, it's foundations, grants, and just over a year ago, Jackie spearheaded our partnership program. And these 22 companies support our work in a couple of ways. Not only do they provide a donation, a very meaningful donation that enables us to roll into a year with more than 30% of the revenue that we need. And we're a small organization, by the way. Happy to share numbers. Everything's available on our website, on our impact page. We operate on about $3 million a year. And because we operate so efficiently, we're able to make those donations directly to farmers now. So these companies play a critical role, not only in supporting us with donations, but we inspire and educate their teams. In turn, they go out to their audience as a critical component of the movement. That pauses. Next slide, please. And I mentioned we donated $500,000 directly to farmers this year. We wanted you to hear directly from some of those farmers to hear a little bit about how they are applying those funds.
I'm a fifth generation farmer and rancher and a Marine Corps veteran.
I'm the sixth generation here on the Landers family farm.
I'm the manager at PT Ranch, which is a family-owned and operated regenerative ranch.
Hi, I'm Patrick Brown, a fourth-generation family farmer from Warren County, North Carolina, and board director and farmer relations lead at Kiss the Ground. I've spent my life restoring the land my family has worked for generations, using regenerative practices to grow hemp, herbs, and organic vegetables. Soil is the foundation of our well-being. It sustains the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the health of our planet. Kiss the Ground supports farmers transitioning to regenerative practices, and your donation directly helps them heal the land and provide a positive, lasting impact on communities.
Our team is almost operating like a tech team. Pretty impressed with how flawless all the audio and video is going, but not surprised. So we're going to play an 11-minute film for you all. This series, Kiss the Ground was really put on the map, and the movement was really put on the map by a documentary called Kiss the Ground, narrated by Woody Harrelson. And the filmmakers, our partners at Big Picture Ranch, are now on the third of a series of films that we've collaborated with them on. Those films are all on Amazon Prime. That said, we know not everybody is going to take the time to watch a 2-hour film. So we started creating not only 90-second reels, but also 10 to 12-minute mini documentaries. We're about to play for you, for the first time we've played for an audience, our newest film. And the series is coming off quite a win. We've now won 15 awards and laurels across some pretty impressive film festivals. This series is really striking a chord. More than 90% of the audiences that have been watching these films are new to the regenerative movement. And our average watch time for this last film was more than 5 minutes and 40 seconds on YouTube. Pretty remarkable to grab people's attention to that degree in a scrolling climate that we live in today. So with no further ado, I hope you enjoy the film.
So who said I was the founder of the farm to table movement? No. That's not true. We talk so much about how unhealthy, destructive, not delicious our food system is. We rarely talk about how promising it is. How do we use an animal like a cow to improve the ecological functioning of the world around us? Up until very recently, 100 years ago, a cow was a dual-purpose animal. A lady cow would be milked for much of her life, and at the end of her life, she would become beef.
Grazing on pasture lands and open spaces is what they've done before we've even thought about putting them into feedlots and pumping them with grain. They take a little bite. The manure is going to help with the fertilization of that area as well. Get the plant to start to grow, put down roots. They're grazed and they're moved along and not overgrazing areas. It's a way of regenerating the soil.
Free energy from the sun, feeding the grass feeds the animal gives you this protein-rich milk and nutrition and economy for the farmer. And then at the end of her life, she becomes delicious grass-fed beef. I mean, now that's how this worked in every culture that had beef cows up until the 1940s.
Fresh corn flavor is what you get. Toastiest, crunchiest, cracklingest.
It was a baby boom post-war issue. Corn came on the scene as a very productive animal feed. And so you could all of a sudden grow a lot of corn very cheaply. And you could fatten a cow very cheaply off of that corn. The industry went full force into either you're a dairy cow or you're a beef cow, and anything that was in between, anything that didn't excel at beef or didn't excel at milk was thrown away.
This is about really transitioning dairy cows that have been raised for milking into cattle for actually eating.
There's a lot of skepticism about utilizing a dairy cow. Their beef is not very valued. Dairies are struggling. Small-scale dairy has taken a huge hit in the past 50 years. They're being crushed by a large system that is priced at a commodity scale and is a very difficult price point for a small farm to meet. So if they have a diversity of income, not only in dairy, but now also in their beef animals, they're really able to bring more value to their farm and also diversify the value on their farm.
Historically, we've always been at mercy of the market, and it has punished us. Replacing dairy cows on the farm is a pretty expensive procedure. Knowing that we have a good outlet for retiring cows that would give financial incentive to farms to grow more and better replacements than what their existing herd is, it would certainly give them a leg up.
You got one steak, you're solving big problems. And if you're gonna zero in on the biggest thing, it's the beef cow, you know? It's the 200 million acres of corn and soybeans that we funnel through an animal that's an herbivore that's never meant to eat grain. Terrible, terrible. And then we have a nutrition problem. We feed that cow in a way that's not natural to the cow, and it hurts us. We're eating destructively for our own health.
Tim Josephs of Maple Hill, I think, made the first connection. Tim and I met at a conference, and we had this conversation that dairy cows, if they're grown right and cared for right, after they dry off, they seem to fatten very easily. And if they do that, it gives just a tremendous eating experience for the consumer. Ryan called and said they're looking for cows and said, hey, we got one that's doing really well for us. He's ready for harvest, and it grew from there. There are many farms out in, especially in northeastern part of the U.S. that could benefit greatly from this this program.
Got the date of births and breeds.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, beautiful.
The bigger one, she's pretty good shape, the one that was dry for a while. I'll think maybe like 14 for that.
Okay.
The opportunity is really to try and put the tenderness back into that animal, put the fat back onto that animal, repurpose it for the value of protein.
I'm Doug Saltis, owner of Aston Sebastian here in Chicago. We're really looking for cows that are 7 to 10 years old. That's when they extinguish their dairy production, and then it's time to really get a second use of that cattle. It's the respect the animal deserves. Is it an original idea? No, it's getting back to the original idea, what we always used to use. The difference in flavor and texture between conventional beef and the vaca viejas that we have an opportunity to serve is really dramatic. They've really developed their own flavor. They're not the same animal to animal. A great sommelier can paint the picture and leave a few things for you to color in yourself. We're gonna give them tasting notes. Popcorny and buttery, it's got deep, dark, mushroomy flavor. It's velvety and rich. We're all very accustomed to seeing one view of beef. When we go to the table and we're showing them different indicators for us, that's gonna make this 7-year-old grass-fed beef absolutely delicious. They never see anything like it. The real takeaways I'm looking for the diner is just to start to understand the nuances of different cattle, to have respect for older animals, and to start realizing that beef should have texture, deep flavor, and individuality from steak to steak. Retired dairy cow beef is going to explode over the next 3 to 5 years. High-end restaurants that mention a farm or the type of onion on their menu will need to serve this. I believe this is the next farmers market movement. The more we can connect to the ranchers and show them that the value of their beef is there, they'll start to have this amazing 10-year-old cows they've invested so much time and energy into. That'll be worth $45 a pound, not $4 or $5 a pound at their local markets. And that's the real win.
The color of the meat and the fat already look pretty great.
If you want to grade beef as prime or any kind of sort of consumer grade, all those animals are about 3 years old. So they've only been on grass for about 2.5 years. The dairy cows, when they come in, sometimes, like one of them was 8-year-olds, there was 4-year-olds.
I remember cutting into it and one of the guests going straight to, wow, that fat is so yellow. A lot of the time, the darker meat and the yellow fat, people don't automatically go, wow, that's delicious. They see darker meat and that yellow fat and go, oh, I don't know if that's gonna be a great cut of meat. But the exercise that it's had being out on the grass, eating that grass and that beta-carotene coming through in the fat, there's flavor there. I can't wait for us to taste this.
Yes.
I think it's going to be incredible. And then also that nutrition that's coming from all of the grass that this cow's been eating over its lifetime as well. After it's been finished milked, it's had the opportunity to use that energy that would have gone into milk production and putting it back into the actual meat structure, all that energy to give this sort of beautiful marbling.
Ultimately, if we can put it on a plate and someone can taste the difference, they're going to understand why we're doing this. They're going to understand the value that it has, and they're going to be moved by it.
Here we are around the table with these stakeholders and steak eaters, and you start to realize like how possible it is to change the food system. But you need everybody at the table. We got the experts around the table. What are we seeing?
This kind of bites, it's more consistent in the mouth and it doesn't dissolve. And I think it's always something nice to have a firmer but very tasty bite.
I never thought of this before. Just by putting the label grass-fed on, you're standing up and saying, I'm different, but that's crazy. And you can see by the veins that we looked at in the kitchen, it's what the cow wants to be. It wants to eat grass. You have a taste of this and you feel satiated. And there is a DNA switch that gets activated when you taste something that's fully flavored. If you could feel satiated with meat, you'd eat less meat. If treated right, it is one of the most regenerative animal husbandry opportunities we have in front of us.
If you create healthy soils, then all the nutrition in those soils goes into the plants, which then transitions to the cattle. And then that also then transitions into the environment as a whole. So you actually create more functions within your ecosystems. It's a really holistic, not only tasting and sensory, but we're also thinking, okay, how can we make all of these ecosystems better?
Chefs have been influential in bringing new ideas and new tastes to the American landscape. Chefs unite around one thing, it's flavor. It doesn't matter what your belief system is prior to tasting that meat, you are converted when you taste this. The cow sculpted what's behind me. There isn't a better example of supporting landscape than through the dairy cows.
All right, I hope you enjoyed the film. I wanted to mention that if you scroll to the very top of the chat, there's a link. If anybody has any questions for Kiss the Ground, we'll be answering them. There's about 1,000 of you, so we'll be answering those questions as quickly as we can. I love seeing the comments fly through. The team's doing their best to respond to your comments. My favorite was that Kiss the Ground is really emotional. You should have seen our Slack exchange during the film. I think most of the staff was crying because we care deeply about this. And I wanted to share just a quick thank you to an amazing supporter of Kiss the Ground named Larry Lunt. Larry sent me this article in the New York Times about the story that we just created a film for and played for you. Florence Fabricant, a writer from the New York Times, wrote about this project about 1.5 years ago. That was really the genesis of us deciding that we needed to capture this story and tell it to big audiences in video form. So with that, I'm really pleased to introduce to you Dan Barber and Florence to have a conversation about the film that you just saw. Thanks for joining, guys.
I'm just going to unmute real quick. Florence, I promoted you to panelist and you declined. Do you mind accepting, my friend?
She declined. Oh, Christ. Is it me?
No, it's not you, Dan.
It's me.
Just promoted you again, Florence. I
Thank
see
you.
you're on the call.
Dan.
And declined. Okay, Nathan. Nathan, are you on?
I am on. Let's see if we can get Florence going though, but I can just, can you hear me okay?
Yes, and Florence, I just asked for you to unmute. Can you hear me, Florence?
Hello, Fab. Yes. You know, it's funny, just as we're waiting to get Florence online, I'm so appreciative to Kiss the Ground, but you're right to point out that if it wasn't for Florence taking the lead on writing about this in the Times, it wouldn't have led to this and a lot of other things that have happened because of her ability to put things front and center and to describe them so clearly, and with proper skepticism, which she's famous for, and why she's been such a long time leading journalist for the New York Times. But I hope we can get her online here because Florence, I just gave you an intro to end all intros.
Now we just need.
You need to unmute.
Okay.
There we are.
There we are.
I was trying to soften you up, you see, so you don't hit me with one of your hard balls. You know what I mean?
No, but you know something, Dan. There is an aspect to all of this that has remained unsaid, and I'd like to begin. I want to interview you.
Here it comes. Did you hear my introduction, Florence? Did you hear my introduction? I called you a leading light of journalism, of communication. Just keep that in mind before you hit me. Go ahead. What's the question?
Keep it up. Keep it up. Here's the thing. In all of the conversation that we hear with chefs who take the lead when something new on the food on the table or in the kitchen or in the market comes along, we wouldn't have arugula in everybody's kitchen without chefs promoting it or using it and people tasting it. But the discussion
or kombucha or Greek yogurt, or we could
on and on. But here's the thing. A lot of discussion about organic and non-GMO and better food and regenerative and all of that comes down to one thing. A lot of people on this planet are hungry, and you cannot feed them with boutique products. They're too expensive. Dairy beef is cheaper. The financial reward, number one, to the farmer is evident, and number two, to the consumer, because dairy beef sells for less and can be sold for less if we could convince supermarkets to buy it and stock it and promote it. I think forgetting for a moment the quality on the palate, the price and economic advantage worldwide for this kind of beef is without comparison. Would you agree with that?
I agree. And I think it's a great point to start us off with and ground.
Point. The point is, everyone says, well, we can't feed the planet on organic food. It's too expensive. This is the counter argument.
It is. And, we're not really feeding the planet with the cheap food system either. So, the idea that we're eating beef that is fed in our country from the 200 million acres that I quoted in that great film is the most inefficient way to feed people. Besides being disastrous on our environment, you're taking caloric possibility from very fertile land and funneling it through an herbivore that's not meant to eat it,
Yeah.
to have us gain that protein. That's incredible. That's the most inefficient food system in the history of agriculture, actually. So, and we're exporting that crazy idea to the rest of the world. So, it's not that that's feeding a lot of empty stomachs. That's not right. It's feeding a lot of corporate interests because corporate interests own the whole goddamn thing. So it's a racket. And one way to break it up is to have the sunlight feed the grass feed the animal feed us. That's a free lunch, actually, as Michael Pollan would say, and it's a very delicious one. And now you've added on this dairy beef component to it, which is very exciting for further democratization. I agree.
It's fabulous. I mean, I knew nothing about it, but when I thought about it, I mean, the logic of a farm in France or Italy going way back, or a family farm anywhere, even today, of what do we do with our retired dairy cattle? Well, we eat them. And I never thought about it. And then you and I and a couple of other people in your organization tasted blind dairy beef, 3 different cuts against prime USDA beef.
Right. I was going to mention that. That was intense. I was sweating it out. I mean, I've done a lot of tasting with journalists before. I've never had someone do it so up to snuff as you, Florence. But
Well, the point is, how can you make an evaluation without a viable comparison?
Right.
That's my feeling. And having the ability to sample these blind was a real eye-opener. And it really changed my mind. Now, the question of where do I buy this dairy beef except at Stone Barns? In fact, the other night, you had given me, or I had bought, or whatever, one steak that I had put in the freezer and I had not used. It was the South American cut, the picanha. And I grilled it the other night and it was great. And, fed it to somebody who'd never had dairy beef and they were convinced.
Very happy to hear that.
And you're serving it at the restaurant?
We're serving it at the restaurant. We become like an Ellis Island for these ladies at Stone Bar. Because, on the dairy farms, the last thing you want, I mean, it's so ingrained in the culture. Blue Hill Farm is a dairy, so I'm speaking from experience, and it's a family farm. The mindset of a dairy person is the moment that the dairy cow comes of a certain age and she produces milk that's demonstrably less. In other words, it's not really worth it anymore. It does not matter if your kids have grown up with her, if she's the most gentle, sweetest, mascot of your farm. She is off the farm in 24 hours. And what unloads it off the farm is 62 cents a pound. It basically pays for the trucking. It's such a travesty because right there is gold. I say it's Wagyu beef. But it's much better than Wagyu beef. I was looking at Wagyu beef. I think I showed you this, Florence, if we were talking 20 years ago, and I was talking to you about the brilliance of Wagyu beef, you would say, oh, though you have to go to Japan to get that, or there's a few chefs, really just a handful of chefs that import it in the US. Today, it's less than 20 years later, actually. You can get a fast food Wagyu beef burger in Ithaca, New York, and it's penetrated so quickly. Again, to your point, that chefs really can move food culture with dizzying speed. It's one of the great things about our lack of food culture. We bemoan the U.S. Food landscape for good reason, but one thing that's worth hanging on to is because we have no culture, all those things we mentioned before, the kombuchas and the Greek yogurts and the sushi, all those things came out of nowhere, and they penetrated mainstream American food culture in ways that you couldn't imagine happening in Japan or Europe or Italy, France. No way. So there's promise here that feels not just Pollyannish, but truthfully exciting about where we could head if we. And I'm seeing some of these comments say, come together. And I agree with that. So yeah.
I mean, a lot of what chefs have introduced start out at the high end. And what sets this apart is that it's basically, when you come down to it, it is not high end, even though you're going to depend on the high end chefs to really be the first to introduce it. But people eat out. People eat out more and more. They take away food, and how many people are actually buying steak to cook in, except Fourth of July barbecue kind of situation. But as you say, the chefs were the ones that started with the Wagyu, and now it's everywhere. And I think it's being dumbed down in a strange kind of way. But I think the dairy beef is the answer in the sense that it is not basically an elite product. How much would dairy beef, a steak, sell per pound? Let's say in a nice market, not necessarily, let's say in a Whole Foods or
Well, I don't think Whole Foods could sell dairy beef and get and have a market yet. So I'll say to you that I buy dairy beef for $6.75 a pound. And before the spike in beef prices, so things have come a little bit topsy-turvy right now because beef is very expensive. So actually, there's been a renewed interest in cold dairy cows. They don't get graded well. They get graded terribly, actually. So the farmer, which is the key to this whole conversation, the dairy farmer doesn't make the money he or she should be making. And that's what we need to change. That's first and foremost here, actually, is get an economic value for the dairy farm, because we have done such a disservice to this bifurcation that we have in our milk and beef food chains. We've driven to the lowest common denominator on milk, which is ever bigger farms producing more and more tonnage. We bred cows to produce more milk. And on the other end, we bred beef cows, herbivores, to eat tremendous amounts of corn and soybeans to our detriment of our environment and our health and flavor. So to reverse that is a long haul. Someone mentioned in these comments, we need policy. Christ, we do. We need to stop taking our tax dollars supporting this stupid system. Obviously, the whole system's propped up on subsidies, as we know. So to get out of 200 million acres of corn and soybeans that get funneled through an herbivore, we've got to stop paying for that to happen. And it's not just paying directly to farmers. It's paying, the propping up of the system allows insurance. Farmers, you tell farmers, well, don't grow corn and soybeans because that's unhealthy to the environment, and we don't want to be feeding cows that do the healthy grains. Who's going to pay for seed, for healthy grain, for buckwheat or barley or millet or rye, any of the grains that we both know it's incredible, and there could be a market for it, but no farmer is going to take a risk on that because no bank's going to give them the loan, because no insurance is going to pay for a crop failure. So what gets subsidized is not just the subsidy, it's the ramifications of the subsidy throughout the system that prop up what we're doing and make it almost impossible to change unless, yes, we break the system. And we just had a mayor elected to New York that broke up the system, really, and in the way that he went about getting elected, in the way that he created cohorts of people to create change. And I think flavor is a great way to do this, a great march forward. So thanks to you, we got this going. And I foresee the same kind of trajectory that we've seen in Wagyu beef.
Well, I think price has got to, because Wagyu is expensive, and the elite quality of that sets it apart. This is the opposite side of the coin, if you will. It's not expensive, and I think not expensive has to be recognized and promoted. And you take New York State, the US is 50 different countries, state by state. And a lot of the agriculture is controlled by the New York State Department of Ags and Markets. They should be big time promoting this. And I hope they do.
We need everybody. You're right. Under the tent. You're right.
All right. Dan and Florence, I cannot thank you enough.
That's the end of our conversation. Oh, man, I thought we were just getting started.
You know what?
Oh, you cut Florence off. You know what wasn't said that just came to my mind?
Go for it, Dan.
And I'll take 10 seconds. And Florence got me to here, but it's that, the beef, the American beef, uh, we kill those animals. Besides funneling all that grain through an herbivore, as I said, besides the destructiveness of it, the taste is like it is so unsatiating. I mentioned that in the film, and it's true. And they're young animals. Besides the fact they shouldn't be eating that, they're young animals. What's so beautiful about the dairy beef is they're older animals. It's a little bit like my arguing with you that a unripened tomato or green tomato is more delicious than a vine ripened local tomato. I mean, it's just that's what it is because that beef has not matured. It can't possibly have the flavonoids and all the things that make beef sing as a steak. And unfortunately, we've just been dumbed down in this country. I'm so glad, Evan, that you and your organization have taken Florence's journalistic curiosity and turned it into something that I think is going to start a movement. We're on our way, and I so appreciate the support.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Florence. There was a whole chat going on of our team. Everybody is very hungry right now. And I think this film makes everybody want to try that steak. And the conversation about, well, can we get it now? Kiss the Ground, we put out all these free resources about what brands to shop for. While we're not there yet, there is a lot of very well produced grass-fed beef in the marketplace, and there are stepping stones here.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Evan. Brilliant. That's the right thing to say. There's a lot out there that is the stepping to the dairy beef. Great point.
Yeah, I mean, we believe that our hearts and minds will drive consumer demand and policy will follow. I just played this film for a meetup in right on a amazing dairy farm, pretty large operation in Northern California, along with a cattle operation. And after the film, I went up to the owners of both farms and I said, "What do you think? This can spread beyond the Northeast?" And the answer was, "Oh, absolutely. It takes a minute to get the process humming, but this is going to be our future." So we are going to help drive with everybody watching now and everybody who will watch consumer demand, and policy will follow.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to introduce Rick Brown, Kiss the Ground's very own leader of farmer relations and regenerative farmer. Take it away, Rick.
Thanks, Evan. Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Brown. You probably recognize my voice from the video you saw about farmers. I'm a regenerative farmer, fourth generation, in fact. I turned to hemp production and we diversified our other crops utilizing hemp for regenerative acres. It was such a thrill and honor for me to help lead the charge with a team of farmers to choose a team of farmers that we chose at Kiss the Ground. Throughout that process, as Evan mentioned, we dispersed $500,000 to farmers. And without you all, that $500,000 direct to farmers doesn't happen, and it couldn't be possible. So I have the opportunity today to ask all of you to look at this QR code that's up on your screen right now. If you're on your phone right now watching this call, you can't scan the QR code, but don't worry. We'll be sending an email after this meeting with the link for you to do this later. But if you're on your computer, I'm asking you to grab your phone, scan the QR code, and join the movement. Donate $10, $100, or heck, $10,000. Just keep in mind, every $100 that you donate helps generate 100 acres of land. When you donate, you'll get updates from us consistently, like events that you saw today, and we'll hope you'll be inspired to bring more people into the movement. For those with the means who can, add a couple zeros. This helps us get even closer to doing some kind of grant, or if not more, direct payments to farmers as we head into 2026. I just want to say thank you all for being here and being a part of this movement.
Thanks everybody for joining. If you didn't already, click on the link to ask us any questions. We'll answer them all. We'd love feedback on this meeting from all 1,000 of you. And it looks like, Lai, you're joining the movement. Appreciate you all. Thanks, everybody.